Hi, it's Angus Mellish with Vessie's here today. We're out harvesting our garlic trials and just wanted to spend a little bit of time and explain how to harvest garlic, how we decide when it's ready, and how to handle it and cure it for the best storage results. So you can see here our garlic was mulched. When we planted it last fall, we put this straw mulch on. We've left that on all summer. That helps the mulch serves two purposes. One, through the fall, it protects the soil from freezing and thawing, which helps the garlic survive through the winter. And also through the summer here, it's really helped keep the moisture in the soil. We've had a very dry summer, but you'll see as I dig these garlic that there's the soil underneath is still nice and dark and really has still good attachments to the roots. So it's really helped this garlic continue to grow through the summer. So when you go to lift the garlic, we're using a fork. That's really the sort of ideal piece of equipment to use. You could use a shovel though. So we're out about 4 or 5 inches from the garlic and we're just going along and just loosen the soil beside each of the garlic cloves heads. And then it's just a matter of pulling them up. And you can see since the soil is nice and moist underneath, there's quite a bit of soil that's coming up with each one. So it's just a matter of knocking a fair bit of that soil off. You want to handle it fairly gently so at this point the bulbs are still fairly green and soft, so you want to be cautious not to handle them too roughly or bruise them because that would affect the storage ability of them. You can see with this head here how we've decided to harvest the garlic as far as timing goes. We watch to see that there's anywhere between 2 and 4 of the bottom leaves have started to dry up. It's a bit of a balancing act. The longer you leave it, the larger that head is going to be. As more leaves die off, that head size is going to get larger. But what happens is as these leaves die off, the skins that cover the clove become fewer and thinner. So if we left it so that there's only maybe 1 or 2 of these leaves that were still green and harvested at that point, by the time that this head had dried, there would only maybe 1 or 2 layers of skin holding it together, and once we started to clean it up, the head would fall apart, the wood storage wouldn't be nearly as long, and yeah, so you need to leave, I'm going to say, look at the bottom, and between 2 to 4 leaves that have died off is a good time to harvest the garlic. You can see here's a plant that's been allowed to mature to so that all the leaves have died off, and you can see that there's very little skin protecting the cloves, and even some of the cloves are starting to come out. And so once this head dries and we scuff that skin off, the cloves are just going to fall apart and they will not store very well. So that's why you need to leave 5 or 6 nice still alive green leaves at the top to provide those wrapper leaves that'll hold that head together through the winter. So after you've dug the garlic, what we like to do is just take them and tie them up in bundles of anywhere between half a dozen to a dozen plants per bundle. We just take and wrap them up with some twine, leave one end a little longer, tie them up like that. Then what we do is we take each of these bundles and we take them up to our header house, but any place that's out of the sun but has really good air circulation is really what you want. You want them to dry down fairly quickly but out of the sun. So the most important thing is good regular air circulation over them. If you have quite a bit of garlic, it's not a bad idea to get some fans blowing some air on them. But if it's just a few bundles like this, just hanging them up well spaced out will certainly work well. You can see here that we've left the roots on, and just with my hands I've knocked most of the soil off, but I'm not worried about getting the garlic perfectly clean at this point. Really, you just want to knock most of the soil off the roots, quick brush off with your hands, because what happens is as this dries and we go back in, we're going to trim the roots, and that outer layer of skin is going to dry and fall off anyway, so we'll scuff that top layer off once the heads have had a chance to cure and dry. So don't worry about getting them perfectly clean. Just knock most of the soil off and leave the roots and tops on to help aid the drying process.